Over the last few weeks, Marvel has been sharing out new information about its upcoming spring 2022 X-Men event, Destiny of X. Destiny of X is the next era for Marvel's Merry Mutants, and it is set to follow the current Reign of X era that's wrapping up with the Inferno miniseries and the soon-to-come X Lives and Deaths of Wolverine event. Not a lot of information has been shared about Destiny of X yet, but its name indicates that we can probably be sure that Destiny herself will be playing a significant role in it, given that one of, if not the biggest thing to come out of the Reign of X so far has been her resurrection and her appointment to the Quiet Council of Krakoa. There were a few other big things to happen in Reign of X, like the Omega Mutants terraforming Mars and the X-Men setting up a new base in New York, but far and wide, Destiny's secret resurrection by Mystique was the best, even if there are a few more surprises yet to come. The first teaser that Marvel released about Destiny of X was a cryptic quote from Miss Irene Adler herself, saying, "There is no the future, there is no destiny." This was followed by a series of images of 6 X characters featured in both peaceful and dramatic scenarios, as well as a group shot featuring what is supposedly all the major players who are supposed to take part in this Destiny of X era. I'll be making a part 2 to this video where I tackle this group photo and try to figure out what everyone's role might be, but for now I want to pay attention to the individual images that were released as teasers. 3 of these images feature heroic characters like Storm, Hope, and Wolverine, and 3 of them featured villainous characters like Mr. Sinister, Destiny, and Magneto. What all of these images mean is anyone's best guess, but I thought it would be fun to take a stab at interpreting them and trying to piece together some sort of through line for them all. Of all these images, Mr. Sinister's are by far my favorite. His first pictorial portrays him as like a crime-fighting hero, kind of like Spider-Man in the way that he has those crooks all tied up. I think it's really cute how he's super proud of his accomplishment here, and I wonder if this is supposed to reference like a timeline where he used his powers for good instead of for evil. In his second image, it looks like he is an actual regent of some place. This one feels the most sinister, as he has already kind of fashioned himself as a king before, and it reminds me of the sinister London that he created below Alaska during the Utopia era. I don't know if this is actually referencing that period of his life, because he's not dressed very English here, but it certainly reminds me of that vibe, or even of when Charles and Magneto first visited him when they did their initial secret Krakoa tour and asked him to acquire more mutant genetics. But again, it could be nothing of the past and could have something to do with the future, but whichever it is, the one thing I do know about this is that those shorts have got to go because there's nothing regal or good at all about them. The third image is of him being a recipient of some sort of technology and innovation award. I assume it's for his work in genetics, though the most interesting thing about it is that he's being presented by what I assume is a regular human, and in fact being celebrated by what I also assume to be an all-human audience. In all 3 of these images, he is being celebrated or revered in some way, which could indicate that Destiny of X is going to be Sinister's time to shine. Destiny's images are interesting as well. She's the only character who's facing outwards in the same position in all 3 of her pictures, with only the background changing around her. I don't think we need to read too much into that, as it probably just symbolizes that Destiny is always looking into the future as opposed to being caught up in the present, which is something we already know about her. In her first image, she's surrounded by like nature and stuff. Not sure if it's supposed to be Krakoa or if it's just some sort of symbolic paradise like a Garden of Eden or something. I think if it was meant to be Krakoa, then we'd probably see more Krakoa-specific flora, like some of those weird flowers. In her second image, Destiny is surrounded by apocalyptic warfare. Buildings are falling and the atmosphere looks like it's burning up. Also, the branch that's in front of her in the first image has been replaced by a torn up cable. Not sure if that is supposed to allude to Cable the character, and like maybe this is her in Cable's future or something, but it certainly contrasts with the idyllic first image. Then her third and probably scariest image features Destiny in a futuristic city with a Nimrod sentry overlooking and watching her. The cable in front of her has been replaced by what I think is like some computer code or algorithm, and the vibe of this image feels like it's one of Moira's more dystopic lives, namely her 9th life, the one where she formed an allegiance with Apocalypse and the Nimrod machine came online. Magneto's images feel pretty straightforward to me. The first one is kind of like his present day incarnation. It shows him on Krakoa standing up at the Quiet Council table. It reminds me of when he was first being accused of Wanda's murder, as even though he's standing in like an achieved heroic sort of way, his voice is still ensconced in shadow, maybe indicating that he has some dark secrets, which he does. The second image is a throwback to his days of terrorism. It shows him wearing his old school colors and he's wreaking havoc upon the human world by magnetically manipulating that car and those buildings in the background. I assume this is just a reference to his past, but maybe it calls to the future where he never gave up his villainous ways. The third image is the most interesting one for Magneto, and I think it's supposed to represent him like retiring or giving up. The way he's dropping his helmet, he's either found the piece he's been looking for, or he's turning his back on the fight and is just giving up. I can't really tell based on the background, as it looks like it's just a bunch of mountains, which could go either way. He could have escaped to this place of solitude to retire, or he could be running away to there so that no one will find him. Either way, it looks like the fight is over for Magneto, or at least his will to fight is. As far as the teasers for the hero characters go, they are far less interesting than the villains is. I dare say that hopes are actually the most interesting, which is a word I never thought I'd be sharing in the same sentence with hope, but here we are. Hope's first image is her doing some Xavier cosplay as she's wearing his black unitard and is donning his Cerebro helmet while she's surrounded by the rest of the five. This implies to me that she is either taking over for Charles, or maybe in this world, she was always the Charles who was stationed with the helmet. She has already proven that she's able to do what Xavier does in regards to implanting consciousnesses into recently resurrected mutants, as Mystique tricked her into implanting destinies when she poses Xavier, so maybe this image is foreshadowing her as Xavier's successor in the resurrection program. Hope's second image shows her in a dystopic background after having freshly fired her gun. She's wearing the clothes that she wore when she was fighting for her life alongside Cable in Our Future, which is her past. This could just be an homage to that time of her life, or it could indicate that she's going to take up arms again. A lot of these teasers show some sort of grief happening in the second images, so maybe they are all connected in some way and showing us like the same post-apocalyptic world. Hope's third image is the one that I hope to God won't come true. It shows her having a voice at what I think is the Quiet Council table on Krakoa, and honestly, we don't need that. While I do think that the Quiet Council would benefit from some younger perspective, is that not what we are all waiting on Danny to achieve? Hope obviously is not my favorite character, and I think sidelining her into this important role as a resurrectionist is great because it keeps her out of the action and focused on just one thing, so let's keep it at that. Wolverine's images are pretty basic and just show him beating up a bunch of people, robots, and things. The first image shows him in his current outfit, which is also an older outfit, and it's him with his unsheathed claws slicing up a bunch of robots. This could literally be any day of the week for Logan, so it doesn't leave much room for the imagination here. The second image is a throwback to his days as Patch, which was a persona that he adopted while trying to infiltrate Madripoor's crime scene. In this image, it looks like he's fighting a bunch of ninjas, which is something he did do both in and out of his Patch alias, so this, again, could literally be any moment from his past. The third image is the most interesting one here, and it looks like Wolverine has been at least partially infected with the techno-organic virus and is either being used by the Phalanx or is somehow managing to use the Phalanx himself. This image is a direct parallel to one of the X Deaths of Wolverine covers, where he's also shown to be infected by the virus, and so I wonder if it will be a direct fallout from whatever happens in that series. Part of me wonders if this takes place during Moira's sixth life, where she and Wolverine survived for 1,000 years, up to the point where the Phalanx was planning on assimilating all of the remaining human consciousnesses on Earth. Moira died before we ever saw what happened to Wolverine in that timeline, so there's a good chance that he could still be surviving, and this could be him in some sort of struggle against the Great Phalanx. And as much as it pains for me to say, I'd say Storm's images are the least exciting of the bunch. There's just not really a lot to go off of in any of these. In the first one, it looks like she's enjoying a nice rainy day. I think this is either supposed to reference her past as being worshipped as a goddess in Africa because she's not wearing any of her superhero garb, or it's just supposed to symbolize her being happy and feeling generally peaceful with Earth. The second image is of her current day responsibilities as the Regent of Soul up in space. She's wearing her Hellfire Gala outfit, which now doubles as her full-time superhero outfit, and she looks like she's about ready to throw down. The third image must be Storm of the Future because she's wearing what looks to be a new outfit, and again, is just ready to unleash the full fury on somebody. Unfortunately, other than the outfits, or lack thereof, there's not really a lot of room here for speculation about anything in terms of how this new era relates to Storm, other than she'll probably play a big role in it somehow. So that's it for these teaser images. As I said, my favorite was Mr. Sinister's, and whether these are all showing aspects of the character's past, present, and future, I can't really tell for sure as there's just so much to interpret here, but it looks to me like we're getting glimpses of various timelines, and I think that goes hand in hand both with how the reign of X is scheduled to wrap up and how Moira's 10 lives might come back to the forefront. Given Destiny's quote and the look of these images and the fact that Destiny of X is supposed to debut right after the 10 lives and deaths of Wolverine, which is being marketed as a time-traveling adventure for him, I think it's safe to presume that we'll be dealing with some alternate realities in this next era of mutantdom. And so that's it for this video. Please stay tuned for part 2 where I try to dissect the big group photo of everyone and try to figure out who's going to be showing up where and why. In the meantime, let me know if you think I'm onto something with some of these interpretations here, or if you think I'm just super dense and I'm missing the obvious, because honestly, it could go either way. If you like this video, please check out some of my other ones on this channel. I create rankings and reviews and ruminations of lots of X-Men content, so I'm sure you'll find something to sink your teeth into. You can also follow me on social media for a splattering of panel scans that I enjoy with funny captions that I also enjoy, or just visit my website at greatxmentations.com. Thanks for stopping by and spending some time with me today, and be sure to come back again soon for more Great X-Mentations.